Today I'm going to be making kombucha, which is a Asian form of fermented tea. It's tea fermented with yeast and a bacteria strain that's similar to vinegar. So you take sugary tea and you make something that comes out really acidic and kind of vinegary, and it doesn't taste very good, but it's supposed to be really good for you. And I just like to watch things grow, so that's the main reason why I do it. It's really hippie, and we are in Boulder, Colorado, and I am wearing this hippie t-shirt, which is something I would never normally wear. So the materials that you need if you're making kombucha are tea bags, sugar, distilled water or tap water if you're not going to be anal about it, and a pot or a teapot. I just realized that all our pots are dirty, so I'm going to make the tea concentrated and then mix it with water afterwards. And then you need a jar with some cloth and a rubber band to brew the kombucha. Alright, I occasionally use the wrong words for things, so don't judge me too harshly. I sometimes, use kombucha and tea interchangeably or whatever. It's not because I don't know any better, it's because I feel really awkward talking to a webcam. So most of the people that make kombucha are very organic-y, kind of hippies type people, so they're really picky about using distilled water only because they think that chlorine will hurt the SCOBY. I don't know if that's true or not. I've used tap water before and it was fine. But just for grins, I filled this jar with water and left it out for a week so that all the chlorine would evaporate naturally. And it smells like feet now, so I'm just going to dump it out and start over. I got my little black teapot, and I'm going to fill it with a little bit of water. You normally want to make about 4 or 5 tea bags per gallon, and since it's summer and it's really warm and I can't cool the kombucha down, it tends to get really acidic because of the heat, and it just over brews. So I brewed a little light, so I put in a little less tea and a little less sugar. But I've never done it over the winter yet, but I'm probably going to step it up over the winter to a stronger mixture. So let me just put in the tea. And most people do this in a pot. I just got cheap ass tea from the from Big Lots because we're in a recession. Okay, you want to be careful that you don't break the tea bags. I just like to rip the little tags off because I don't want them floating in there. I'm just going to put it on the stove till it boils and make some tea. While the water's boiling, I'm just going to pick up this kombucha that I already made. This is from last week. This jar is 2.5 gallons. And as you can see, the tea is right here. It is turned into kind of a smells like vinegar, like a yeasty kind of vinegar maybe. And on top of it is the SCOBY, which I don't want to touch it with my hands because I haven't washed them and I'll contaminate it. But the SCOBY is this chunk of bacteria here. If you've ever been to Yellowstone National Park or seen a hot spring, there's these bacteria mats that grow underneath the water, and it's kind of it looks like that. So for reference, it's really tough and leathery, and if you poke at it, it's kind of the consistency of a cold dead thing. Alright, I just washed my hands so you can see this. It's the SCOBY is about maybe half an inch thick. It looks kind of weird on the bottom. It's always smoother on the top, and after I brew it once, I like to flip it over. So every time you brew, it's supposed to make a new SCOBY. Mine are always fused together. It'll just always form as a film on the top and then gradually get thicker. and it'll always be exactly the size and shape of the surface of the water. Alright, I have a tequila bottle that is empty that I'm going to use for the kombucha, just to keep it in the refrigerator. It can keep brewing a little bit after you bottle it, and that's okay. If you keep a lid on it, the cultures which are making carbon dioxide will actually carbonate it for you. And it's a little bit carbonated right now in the jar, but I'm just going to pour this in there. The SCOBY's still in it. I used aluminum foil for a funnel. It's not great, but it's okay. You never want to brew kombucha in anything metal. You always want to use glass because it forms acids which can dissolve metal, or it can make toxins leach out of plastics or porcelain. So I filled that up. It actually smells really good. It smells like, I don't know, it's almost a little bit fruity. That might be bad, I don't know. Alright, so I felt guilty about just wasting this much water, so I just watered the houseplants with it. And I guess that is a testament to the fact that if you leave anything out for a long time, even water, something will grow in it. But anyway, I just rinsed it out, and I'm going to use the jar now, conveniently, to mix the kombucha. Kombucha does not take the caffeine out of tea, so if the tea is caffeinated, your kombucha will be caffeinated. And if you want to make it low caffeine, one thing you can do is use fewer tea bags and steep them for longer. Caffeine's the first thing to leave tea when you start brewing it, so you can either dip the tea bag in boiling water and then take it out and then throw that water out and then brew the tea, and it should be decaffeinated. Or you can use less tea and brew it for longer, which will have all the caffeine from that tea. And if you want high caffeine, put in a bunch of tea bags and brew them for a very short time, and all the caffeine will go into the tea. Alright, just a little bit of tea science for you. A lot of people worry a lot about contaminating kombucha, and that's obviously not something that you want to intentionally do, but as a rule of thumb, whenever anything is exposed to air, it's not sterile anymore. Mold spores are going to get into there, bacteria from the air is going to get into there, and if the conditions were right, they grow. And the reason that kombucha doesn't have mold growing on it is because it's so acidic, and it's just like vinegar or stomach acid. Those are, your body's natural ways of preventing infections, and the kombucha kind of does the same thing. It's a acid-loving bacteria, but other kinds of bacteria don't like to grow in there, or mold. So whenever you start kombucha, you always want to have a little bit of leftover kombucha in there, so that when you put in the fresh tea, it stays acidic. And when you start kombucha from a bottle you buy in the store, just go ahead and put the whole bottle in your tea. Is it running? Okay, now I'm putting a piece of cloth on top of it. I just used an old pillowcase that I ran through the wash a few times, and you want to tie it off with a string or something just to keep it on. Fruit flies love it. They're drawn to fermentation. That's how they identify rotting fruit and stuff. So they will attack your kombucha if you don't seal it properly. So now it's sealed. I'm going to put it up on top of the refrigerator, and it is now July 6th, so I'll get this maybe July 13th, and it'll be ready. In the winter, you brew a little longer, but it's freaking hot in here, so put it on top of the fridge, and it'll be there. And I have my kombucha, where is it? In a tequila jar somewhere around here. And alright, here's to kombucha. That's healthy tasting.